They looked you in the eyes. They smiled. For a moment, maybe a year, maybe a decade, you felt like the protagonist of their story. You felt chosen. But what if I told you that feeling was a lie? What if the very moment you felt most seen was the moment you were being set up to fall? We all walk through life signing invisible contracts. We don't use ink, and we don't sign paper. We sign them with our time, our vulnerability, and our hope. You signed one when you decided that they were different. You signed it when you forgave the first excuse, the first silent treatment, the first time your intuition screamed that something was wrong, but you silence it because you want to be loved. But here is the dark psychological truth they never teach in school. To some people, you are not a partner. You are not a friend. You are a resource. You are a placeholder. You are an option. Think about the last time you felt anxious about a relationship. Maybe it was a lover who took hours to reply, but was always online. Maybe it was a friend who only called when they needed a vent about their own life, never asking about yours. Remember that sinking feeling in your chest? That heaviness? That wasn't insecurity. That was your subconscious trying to warn you. That was your survival instinct screaming that you are standing on ground that is about to collapse. Why does this happen? It happens because dark psychology thrives in the space between hope and reality. Manipulators know exactly how to keep you in that space. They give you just enough to make you stay, but never enough to make you feel safe. It is a psychological tether. You are like a fish on a hook, fighting for breath, thinking that if you just swim a little harder, you will be free. But the truth is harder to swallow. The hook isn't there to help you swim. It's there to hold you still until it's convenient to reel you in. Have you ever felt like you were the backup plan? Like you were the safety net someone kept folded up in the back of their mind, just in case their trapeze act failed? It is a humiliating realization. It strips away your dignity. You tell yourself, I am special. They tell you, you're overthinking, but the actions don't lie. The silence when you need them the most is the loudest scream of truth you will ever hear. You are not crazy. You are not asking for too much. You were simply an option in a world where they made themselves a priority. And that is the first cut, the deepest one, because it makes you question your own worth. But what if I told you that keeping you as an option wasn't just a choice they made, but a strategy they perfected? Stay with me. There's a reason you fell for them. It's not because you were weak. It's because they were a mirror. Dark psychology often relies on a concept called mirroring. In the beginning, they reflected everything you wanted to see. If you like music, they love your favorite band. If you were quiet, they were mysterious listeners. If you were ambitious, they suddenly had big dreams of their own. It felt like destiny. It felt like finding your missing half. But it was a trick. It was a calculated psychological maneuver designed to lower your defenses. Imagine meeting someone named Sarah. You love hiking. Sarah suddenly loves hiking. You hate drama. Sarah says, I hate drama too. You feel understood. You feel seen. You think, finally, someone who gets it. You pour your heart out. You share your secrets. You bond over these shared interests. Fast forward 6 months. The hiking stops. The drama starts. You look at Sarah and realize you don't know her at all. You only know the version of her that reflected you. This is the pain of being an option. You fell in love with a reflection of yourself, projected by someone who was studying you like a specimen in a jar. They didn't want to know you. They wanted to know how to be exactly what you needed, so they could take what they wanted. Why do people do this? It stems from a dark void within them, a narcissistic injury, or a sociopathic need for control. They cannot form a real connection because they don't have a true self to connect with. So they steal yours. They wear your personality like a mask until they get bored or until they find a better source of supply. And when they drop the mask, you are left standing there, holding the bag of emotions, wondering where the person went. You chase the ghost of who they used to be. You beg them to go back to how things were. But how things were was a lie. How things are is a reality. You were an option because you were useful to fill that void. You were a temporary fix for their eternal emptiness. And the moment you stopped reflecting what they wanted to see, the moment you had a need, a complaint, or a boundary, the mirror shattered. How does it feel to know that the intimacy you shared was manufactured? That the late-night talks were just data gathering for their manipulation. It makes you feel dirty. It makes you feel used. It makes you feel like you were never really there. And this mirroring is just the beginning. Once they have you, they begin a process so subtle, so slow, you won't even feel your soul leaving your body. If you are an option, you are expendable. And if you are expendable, you must be controlled, not with chains, but with confusion. This is a psychological technique of intermittent reinforcement combined with gaslighting. It doesn't happen overnight. It is a slow erosion, like a river smoothing down a sharp rock. They wear away your edges until you are unrecognizable. Consider the story of Mark. Mark was a confident, funny guy. He started dating Elena. At first, it was amazing. Then, the comments started. Small things. "You're lucky I put up with your temper," Elena would say when Mark got annoyed at something minor. Mark didn't have a temper, but he started to wonder. "Maybe I am angry," he thought. Then came the silent treatments. Mark would text, "Are you okay?" Silence for 2 days. Then a cheerful text. "Hey? Sorry, I was just busy. Let's get dinner." Mark was relieved. He felt the rush of getting her back. He stopped asking why she ignored him. He stopped questioning the inconsistency. Over time, Mark stopped seeing his friends. He stopped playing guitar because Elena said it was noisy. He became a shell of the man he was. He believed he was a problem. He believed that if he could just be better, she would love him the way he wanted. But the truth? Mark was never the problem. Mark was simply being conditioned to accept scraps. He was being trained to stay on the hook. This is what it means to be an option. You are only valuable as long as you serve their needs. When you have a voice, it's annoying. When you have boundaries, it's too much work. They chip away at your reality until you don't trust your own mind. You apologize for things you didn't do. You feel guilty for wanting basic respect. It is a deep psychological torture. It isolates you. You feel like no one else would understand. You think, if I tell them she ignores me for days, they'll say I'm controlling. So you suffer in silence. You protect the very person who is destroying you. Why do we stay? Because the brain is addicted to the unpredictability. The pain of the withdrawal is terrifying. You would rather be in a burning house than out in the cold unknown. You are holding on to a phantom. You are clinging to the memory of the mirror they showed you in the beginning, refusing to accept that the glass is broken and lying in shards at your feet. But the erosion of your soul has a purpose. It serves a function for them. And that function is darker than you can imagine. There is a specific reason they never let you go completely. It's not love. It's not complicated feelings. It is a cold, hard strategy called breadcrumbing. If you were completely abandoned, you would heal. You would grieve. And then you would move on. They know this. They cannot allow you to move on because they might need you later. You are an insurance policy. You are a backup plan. Visuals. A phone screen lights up repeatedly with vague messages. Thinking of you. Miss your laugh. Hey, let me tell you about Maya. She broke up with James 6 months ago. It was toxic. James lied. He cheated. He made her feel small. Maya finally found the strength to leave. She was starting to heal. She started going to the gym. She started painting again. Then the notification popped up. Hey, I saw that book you liked and thought of you. Maya's heart stopped. Just for a second. The dopamine hit her system like a drug. All those months of healing? Shaken. She replied. He was nice. He didn't mention getting back together. He just kept dropping crumbs. Like, on her photo. Happy birthday text. A memory of an inside joke. Maya was stuck again. She couldn't move forward because James was tugging at the string. She couldn't go back because she knew he was toxic. She was in limbo. This is the trap of being an option. You are kept on a shelf, like a dusty old toy, taken down only when they are bored, lonely, or their other options fell through. They throw you a bone just to make sure you are still sitting by the door, waiting for them. It is an act of psychological dominance. They are saying, I don't need to be with you to control you. They can reach into your life from a distance and disrupt your peace with 3 words. And you let them. Why? Because you are still hoping that the breadcrumb is actually a full meal. You are hoping that this time the text means they changed. But it doesn't mean they changed. It means they are bored. It means their other supply is low. You are being farmed. Your emotions are being harvested for their ego. How many nights have you stayed up waiting for a crumb? How many times have you analyzed a punctuation mark in a text, looking for meaning where there is none? This is not a connection. This is a cage. And the door is open, but you are too trained to leave. Many hook. They keep you waiting, but why? What is the dark psychological payoff for keeping you trapped in this purgatory? The answer lies in the concept of supply. We need to get real about something uncomfortable. If you were treated as an option, it is likely because you were dealing with someone who has dark personality traits, narcissism, sociopathy, or psychopathy. To these people, you are not a human being with feelings. You are a narcissistic supply. Think of a battery. A phone needs energy to run. It doesn't care where the electricity comes from, as long as it flows. For a manipulator, your attention, your anger, your tears, and your love are electricity. They need it to survive their hollow inner world. When they make you cry, they feel power. That power is their fuel. When they make you beg, they feel godlike. That validation is their fuel. When they ignore you and you panic, they feel secure. That fear is their fuel. Let's look at the story of Alex and his boss, or maybe his mentor, Daniel. Daniel was charismatic. Everyone loved him. He took Alex under his wing. He promised him the world. But Daniel was a master of dark psychology. He would give Alex a compliment, then publicly humiliate him the next day. Alex worked harder. He tried to win Daniel's approval again. That is the supply. Alex's effort, his desperation to be good enough, was feeding Daniel's ego. Daniel didn't care about Alex's career. He cared about how much Alex would sacrifice for him. The more Alex sacrificed, the more important Daniel felt. This is the brutal reality. Being an option means you are a utility. You are a tool to regulate their self-esteem. When they feel low, they devalue you to make themselves feel high. When they feel bored, they love bomb you to get a reaction. They do not feel your pain. They cannot empathize with your sleepless nights. To them, your pain is just a data point on a graph. It proves they're in control. It proves they exist. You ask yourself, how could they do this after everything I did for them? The answer is dark. Because everything you did for them was just payment for your spot on the shelf. You paid in blood, sweat, and tears, but the rent was always going to go up. You were never a partner. You were a fan. You were a groupie. You were the audience to the movie of their life. And the worst part? You played your part perfectly. But knowing you are being used is only half the battle. The real devastation comes when you realize how they replaced you. The discard. There's a moment every option fears. The moment you realize you've been replaced. In dark psychology, this is called the discard. It is not a breakup. A breakup implies two people ending a relationship. A discard is when one person throws the other away. Picture this. You and David were together for 3 years. He was your world. You had plans. You had a future. Then out of nowhere, David becomes cold, distant. He starts picking fights over nothing. You try to fix it. You cry. You plead. One Tuesday, he doesn't come home. He texts you. I can't do this anymore. You're too much for me. You are devastated. You blame yourself. You think, I ruined it. 3 days later, you see him on social media. He is with someone else. He looks happy. He looks free. He is posting about how he finally found his soulmate. The pain is blinding. It feels physical. It feels like a knife twisting in your gut. Why? Because he didn't just leave you. He replaced you instantly. It makes you ask, was I ever real? Did those 3 years mean nothing? The answer is harsh. To him, they meant nothing more than what he got out of him at the moment. And the moment you stopped being fun or easy or useful, he traded you in for a newer model. This is the ultimate weaponization of being an option. It proves your replaceability. It sends a message. You were nothing special. I can find another you in a heartbeat. They do this to inflict maximum damage. They want you to see it. They want you to know that while you are at home, cry on the floor, they are moving on without a scratch. It is their final act of dominance. It is them saying, I win. It makes you question your entire reality. If you were so easily replaced, were you ever loved? Or were you just a placeholder until the real thing came along? The silence after the discard is deafening. It is where the dark thoughts live. It is where you sit alone, wondering why you weren't enough. But the mistake you are making is thinking this was about you being enough. This was never about your worth. It was about their hunger. And understanding that distinction is the only way to survive the despair. We have walked through the valley of shadows. We have seen the manipulation, the mirroring, the erosion, the breadcrumbing, the supply, and the discard. It is heavy. It is dark. It hurts to breathe. But right now, in this darkness, I want you to feel something else. I want you to feel the cold, hard ground of truth. For so long, you have been trying to fix the equation. You thought, if I love them harder, they will see me. If I am quieter, they will stay. If I am perfect, I will become a priority. You were solving the wrong problem. The realization is not that you weren't good enough. The realization is that they were never capable of seeing you. Imagine offering a diamond to a person who only values glass. They will take the diamond, maybe admire it for a second, and then toss it aside to play with a shiny, empty bottle. Does that make the diamond worthless? No, it just means the recipient is blind to value. You are the diamond. You have been handing your heart to people who are spiritually bankrupt. You have been begging for water from people who are actually just mirages. This is a dark truth. You were an option because you refused to see that they were a dead end. You kept your eyes on them. Instead of on yourself, you gave them the power to validate your existence. The pain you feel right now is actually a form of clarity. It is the feeling of the anesthesia wearing off. The surgery is over. The tumor is removed. The wound is open, yes, but the infection is gone. You were not too much. You were just too real for a fake person. You were not unlovable. You were just unloved by someone who doesn't possess the capacity to love. This is a turning point. The moment you stop asking, why did they do this, and start saying, I'm glad they are gone. It is a quiet shift. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the middle of the night, when you realize you haven't checked their social media in 2 hours. It happens when you laugh at a joke and realize it sounds genuine. It happens when you look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. But this awakening comes with a terrifying question. Now that you are no longer their option, who are you? We end where we began. But you are not the same person who pressed play on this video. You now know the game. You know the rules of dark psychology. You know why you were kept as an option. It wasn't because you were unworthy. It was because you were available. It was because you were kind. It was because you had a light they wanted to dim. But the game is over. Going forward, you will feel the urge to go back. The trauma bond is strong. Your brain will crave the chaos because chaos feels like excitement. You will miss the highs. You will even miss the lows because at least the lows made you feel something. When that urge hits, I want you to remember one image. The hook. Remember the fish on the hook? Fighting, thrashing. Thinking that struggling is the same as living. You are no longer that fish. You are the ocean. You are vast. You are deep. You cannot be caught by a simple hook. You swallow the hook and the line and the fisherman, and you keep moving. Being an option is a choice you allow others to make. From this day forward, you withdraw that permission. You become the prize that shuts the door. You become the person who walks away at the first sign of disrespect. Not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. Stop looking for your worth in their eyes. It's not there. It never was. It's been inside you the whole time, buried under the rubble of their manipulation. You were never just an option to the world. You were only an option to them. And they were just a lesson, a dark, painful, necessary lesson in the value of your own soul. The silence you hear now, that's not loneliness. That's peace. Don't break it. Choose yourself.